Hello everyone and welcome to the architectural diagram series. This is the first video here and we're just going to run through a quick overview of the project, and then after that this first video will show you kind of how to get started, how to download SketchUp, and it will also talk about importing files from AutoCAD. So if we see here, we've got this diagram that you'll have seen yesterday in the presentation. And this kind of describes the basic workflow of how we get from sort of starting off as a floor plan in AutoCAD all the way through to our finished diagrams from either Illustrator or AutoCAD again. So what we're doing then just now is this first stage here, stage 1. So we're assuming you have floor plans finished. We'll talk about how to get them ready to export and then exporting them, and then we'll also show you how to get that into into SketchUp. And then after that, what we do is we model the floor plans and the structure of the building. Then lastly, we will populate the scene, so that just means adding more 3D models that are already made in the warehouse. And then after we've done that, we do the last step, which is kind of overlaying our diagram elements. So it's filling in with various colors, changing line thicknesses, and adding annotations. And as you can see, this diagram here on the left hand side, it shows you all the different files and changing them from one form to another. And then the final output we'll get will be either a PDF or a JPEG, or whichever file type you need really from the Illustrator. Okay, so in a second we'll just get started. So first things first is we're going to have to download SketchUp. So you just type SketchUp into Google, go on their website, and up in the top right hand corner here, you'll click on Try SketchUp, and then you just kind of have to run through a bunch of pages first, and it'll ask you to sign in with, you'll either make a Trimble account, or if you have a Google account, you can sign in with that, but you don't have to pay anything for this. It's just a free trial of SketchUp Pro. So you select your role as well, student. Operating system, just one quick note is that we will be doing all this in Windows, so if you're on a Mac, sorry, you'll just have to kind of try and figure out around some of the things we're doing, but should be the same things, just different buttons to press. So you click next and everything, and then it'll take you to a downloader page, and it should automatically start to download. It's SketchUp Pro. So we're just using the free trial for this just now, but it's basically the same as the SketchUp Make, which is the older version as well. So I've done that already, and I opened it as well, and you just have to kind of sign in again. And then after that, so we'll just open up SketchUp now. So we'll click Start Modeling. And so the first thing that we do then is you can see here there are these different templates that you can open up. So some have inches and centimeters and everything like that. I guess it's up to you, but I mean the most common one we'll go for will be architectural here, and with millimeters. So that should just open up now. I'll just full screen that. So here we are then. This is the default sort of page that you'll see. So in this first tutorial, we're just going to kind of take you through some of the basics. So for the more advanced users out there, or anyone who's used SketchUp before, this probably won't be massively relevant to you, so you could probably skip to the next one, but we just kind of go over some of the basics. So what you've got then is, first things first, you probably want to click on this guy and just hit delete, get him out the road, because you don't really need him there. So the three basic tools for navigating around in SketchUp are Pan, Orbit, and Zoom. So Zoom is really easy. Just on your mouse, you just want to scroll in and out, and that's, Zoom works just like it does everything else. The second one is Orbit. So this lets you kind of zoom around in sort of 3D and change the way you're sort of looking at an object. And then the last one is Pan. So that's, you can move kind of left to right, up and down. So you hold Shift and then click in with your middle mouse button and just pull across or up or down, that sort of thing. So what we can see here on the middle of the screen there are these lines, and these are your sort of three-dimensional axes. So the green there is your X, red's Y, and blue is Z. And these are really important, but we'll sort of touch on them more as we go through. So another good thing to note as well is if you guys are doing this on laptops, a mouse is a really good idea to have one of them. If you've got one, or just pick one up for cheap or something, but it makes your life a lot easier with getting around the page and everything like that. It's just way easier to use. So so what we'll do then, just for the rest of this tutorial, is we'll just show you a couple of the basic commands. So what we're going to do is up the top here, you can see this is this sort of toolbar, and this is where you'll find most of the stuff that you're going to need. So you have the different extrusions and offset, move, and we'll go through a bunch of these. That's where most of the commands are. And then over on the right hand side here, the only two things you really need to know from this one is you have the instructor panel, which is here, and that's really useful. So depending on which tool you have selected, it'll kind of tell you how that tool works. It's not always in the clearest of English, but generally it's quite useful to see, especially these wee images. So if I went and clicked on push pull up the top here, it then swaps to that, and it tells you how that tool works, and it can tell you some of the other sort of button combinations that change the tool and how it works. And then the other one that we'll need to really look at is styles here. So if you just click that drop down menu, it gives you the styles. We'll not do it yet, we're only going to really do that at the end, but it's important to know that that's there as well. The rest of them we're not really going to use for this series. So just to kind of go through then the sort of real basic stuff, most commands in SketchUp, you click and then release and then click again, so you don't really hold down any clicks. So for making this rectangle, we click once to show where one of the corners is, and then we can move the mouse around as much as we want to find the other corner. So we're just going to release there. So just to show you that again, I'll just delete this, and so you click once, drag, and then release again. Now there's a whole bunch of ways to make sure that's to a particular scale, or different ways you can control how that rectangle is, but we'll go into them later. But that's basically how the rectangle tool works. And then another really common one you'll use a lot is push pull up the top here. So that's like extrusion, if any of you have done any other 3D stuff. So you click on the face, so the face here, you can see it's just that dark rectangle. That's a solid shape. You just click it once again, pull up, and then you can let go wherever you want. And again, there's ways you can make it so you know that's exactly 2 meters or whatever you're going for. But again, this is just really basic, so we'll just let go there. Yeah, so I mean that's like, you know, really basic. So again, we'll use like, so the zooming tool is with the middle mouse, and it's a bit clearer to see now, I guess, what the orbit tool does. So you hold in the mouse wheel, and yeah, you kind of can zoom around it in 3D. And then again, if you hold shift and click in the middle mouse, you can pan around. Okay, so that's kind of the real basics of getting around in SketchUp. Another really important tool is knowing how the snaps work. So I mean, most of you should be familiar with AutoCAD. Basically it's kind of very similar in that there are a whole bunch of snap points on everything you make. So if we go up here on the line tool, the wee pencil up the top, you can see here as it's moving around, it's a sort of purpley blue diamond there, and then now it's a red square, and then it's a circle there. So all these different snaps are just like the AutoCAD ones. So the wee circle there just means you're at an end point, the red means you're on an edge, and the blue means you're on a particular face. So there's lots of different ways that these are useful. What we'll do is we'll just make a roof for this and just make it a really simple house. So we'll just do the ridge running along this way here. So what you can do is if you go along that edge, you'll then find the midpoint. So you can see there it comes up in a wee box saying that's the midpoint. Click once, and then we'll drag across. And now this is where you can see where the axes come into play again. So when the line's green there, it means it's moving flat along the x-axis. When the line's blue there, it means it's going straight up, that's on the z-axis. And then along this way here, red means it's moving directly across. So that's really useful for knowing where you're drawing your lines. So we'll just go across here, and then again we've got another snap point for the other midpoint. We'll click again, that's that line being created, and then what we'll do is we'll literally just pull this line up. So we'll just zoom in a little bit here a second. Now that we've drawn this line though, basically we split that face in half, so we can no longer just pull that whole face up or down. So if we go on extrusion again, you can see now we'll be only pulling sort of one half of it because we've split that face in half, so that's important to know as well. But anyway, we'll go on to the move tools, just click that there. We'll click on our line. It doesn't matter particularly where we click on this line because we're just pulling it straight up, but we'll just click here, and then now we'll zoom into that point a bit, and you can see that's it on the going in the y-axis, and what we want is we want it in the blue. Okay, so you can see there in that little text box again, we're on the blue axis, so that means we're pulling it directly up. So we'll just click there, and then if we zoom out and kind of have a look around, we can see, there we go, we've got a pitched roof. It's exactly, you know, kind of halfway across the structure there, and again, that was really just from knowing our snap tools of being on the face or being on edges, and using the midpoint. So that's pretty much it for what we'll show you for the real basics. I mean, we'll go through all the tools as we use them, but if anybody out there is kind of wanting to see more stuff in a really basic way like this, there are tons of YouTube videos and stuff out there that show you how each and every tool works, and you know, go through it at really slow pace. But it's slightly outside the scope of our videos to show you everything, you know, from the real basics, but we're gonna just try and run through it and keep it all very applied to architecture. So the last thing we're going to show you in this video then is importing your floor plans from AutoCAD into SketchUp, and then you can use them as a kind of template to build your 3D model of. Okay, so here we are in AutoCAD, and we've just got a really basic floor plan here. I'm sure your guys' ones will be much more detailed than ours, and what you want to do is you just want to isolate really the important stuff, like the stuff you will need to make the 3D model. So all the little furniture things on the inside, and you know, maybe drainage diagrams or whatever kind of overlays you have, you want to just kind of you want to basically just copy out the key dimensions for building your 3D model. So the best way we've found to do that, or just simplest way, is just to literally copy and paste them into a new AutoCAD file, and then you want to go up and hit save as, and the important part for this is you want to make sure it's being saved as an AutoCAD 2013 drawing file, because SketchUp can be a bit funny about the newer versions of AutoCAD. So sometimes if you try and import a 2018, 2019, it won't work, and I don't know why, it's just a compatibility issue. So if you get that error, check and make sure that it's been saved as an AutoCAD 2013, and then you just hit save. And then to jump back into SketchUp, hold on, I'll just get rid of that and show you how we put it in anyway. Sorry, just one second. So we're just going to delete that, sorry, just forget that was there. And then you're going to go File and Import, and then in this little drop down box you want to make sure you have AutoCAD files selected, so DWGs and DXFs, and then you're going to find whatever your file is saved as and hit import. Okay, and it'll come up with this. You don't need to worry about that, that's just some random stuff, and there you go. So now your floor plan is in, and it's ready to have your 3D model constructed over the top of it. So you use all these lines to kind of inform the 3D model. So in this version of SketchUp, it already groups all the lines together. Now in some of the older versions and different versions, it doesn't do that. So if all these lines were separate, you know, so if you could go in here and just click on this one line, and it won't select the whole thing, then what you would do is you would do a big box selection over the whole thing, and then edit and make group. And then once you've done that, you'll select it all again, and then edit and lock. And it's good practice to group it and lock it, so that when you're making your 3D model, you don't accidentally delete some of the lines on the floor plan and then, or alter them in some way so that you don't get the right final thing. So it's just good practice to group and lock that kind of template there, so it really just is kind of a reference image that you're going to construct the 3D model over the top. And once you're done, often you can end up just deleting this layer because you've recreated it all in 3D anyway. So right, I think that's everything for this first tutorial. Next tutorial we're going to show you how we model the basics of sort of floor plans, so showing you the walls, windows and doors, that kind of thing.